What's going on, people? Welcome back to Curtis Shaw TV. Back with another live stream. A little bit later than usual today, but I do try and get a couple of 4 p.m. streams in throughout the week. I know it's easier for people over there in the US and other parts of the world. So big up to everyone tuning in today. International break coming to an end at last. You know, it's been a painful couple of weeks, man. I know England played last night and got a decent result, and they played all right, to be honest. And there was a few other interesting results as well. But damn, I've missed the Arsenal games, man. Although, let's hope, I'm still saying that at 7 p.m. on Saturday night after we've played Chelsea, hopefully we've collected 3 points. And then, you know, we can say it was worth the wait. Beating Man City, waiting 2 weeks, beat Chelsea. We can deal with that. But we've got a big few games coming up. Big up everyone tuned in. Really appreciate everyone who tuned in yesterday on Forever Arsenal. You know, the comments were fantastic from the community, so really appreciate that. And I'll be on DR Sports tomorrow at 12:30 for the preview show, so look out for that one as well, people. Big up everyone who came on the member stream yesterday. A lot of the usual names weren't in there. We had a few debuts in there, so really good to see that. A lot of the big hitters were in there as usual as well, so really appreciate it. Looking forward to the game on Saturday. Let's talk about last night. Last night was an interesting night for some Arsenal players when it came to international duty. Brazil beaten 2-0 away from home last night by Uruguay. And there was a lot of controversy. There's a lot of criticism coming the way of the Brazilian team. Now, Gabriel Magalhães played at centre-back. Apparently, he got done for one of the goals. I'm going to be honest, I haven't seen the goals, so I can't comment, but people were saying he was at fault for one of the goals. And Gabriel Jesus played the whole 90 minutes up front and didn't score, which was a great opportunity for him. You know, Richarlison is often the number 9. Gabriel Jesus gets a start, big game away in Uruguay, and he fires a blank, and Gabriel is part of a defence that gets done 2-0. And on top of that, Neymar came off injured. And of course, you know, in Brazil and places like that, they don't just accept those kind of defeats. So there is a lot of criticism coming the way of that Brazil team. They are currently only third in their group. They're already 5 points behind Argentina, and they're third just behind Uruguay on goal difference. Apparently, a lot of people saying Darwin Núñez caused a lot of problems to Gabriel last night. But it is what it is. You know, I remember watching, you know, England players who were ripping it up at club level. They played for England and it didn't happen for them. So, you know, it is what it is. No Casemiro in DM, which is a big loss for them. When you look at that Brazil team, you have to wonder why they're not doing better. I mean, Ederson in goal, you know, Marquinhos and Gabriel, they had... Oh, Casemiro did play. He did. Bruno Guimaraes, Casemiro, Rodrigo, Neymar, Vinicius Jr. and Gabriel Jesus. And you're not scoring a goal with that team. Got to be something wrong with the manager there. But a lot of criticism coming their way. Thomas Partey, 4-0 defeat last night against the United States. Hammered. 4-0 down at half-time in that game as they prepare for AFCON. That is not the kind of preparation that you want going to America and getting hammered. But he did play 64 minutes in the game. He came off. There was no injury concerns. Chris Hughton saying that, you know, he was fine. Nothing to worry about there. And obviously England beat Italy last night as well. And no Arsenal player, apart from Declan Rice. Declan Rice was superb, by the way, yesterday. No other Arsenal player got any game time in that game. Aaron Ramsdale was on the bench. Obviously didn't come on. Jorginho was not involved for Italy, and Eddie Nketiah was left out of the squad, and of course Ben White and Saka not involved. Saka for injury, Ben White for other reasons. So it wasn't the best of nights, but let's be positive. A lot of our players didn't play, which is good. We can focus on the games coming up over the weekend. And listen, Declan Rice was superb against Italy. I know Jude Bellingham got man of the match, and he's the more flashy player, of course. But I thought Declan Rice. I actually think Declan Rice has gone to another level since playing for Arsenal, so that was good to see. Big up Joe said, big up Big C in the community. Make sure you smash the likes. Callum said that Rashford goal was great. That's what he should do. That's his role. Cut him from that left-hand side. Get your shots off. Having watched England last night, I didn't watch all the game, but most of the game, they genuinely should be winning the Euros. They probably won't because Gareth Southgate tax, unfortunately. I don't think there is a team in Europe that's got a better squad than England, and I include France in that. France, of course, they've got Mbappe and players like that are unbelievable. You look at the strength in depth of England, it is unbelievable. No Saka last night as well. No Luke Shaw. They can get even better. But will they win it? Gareth Southgate? Probably not. Would you take Rashford? Anybody who watches this programme on a regular, you know I'm a big fan of Rashford. I would take him, but you know, they wouldn't get him. We have the best squad along with France. Adam says France is better. I mean, France have got great players, but have they got a better squad overall? Strength in depth? I'm not sure. They'll be close. Maybe we'll look at it in a stream one day. But anyway, let's move ahead. Let's concentrate on Arsenal. Big game at the weekend. Finally, this international break is coming to an end. First bit of good news is Thomas Partey. Now, we knew that Thomas Partey was back. He came on in the game against Manchester City, but I believe he's fully fit now. He played 45 minutes in the first game. He played 64 minutes in the second game. So he should be fine. What I like about Arsenal now, they're starting to manage these situations a lot better. When you look at, they sent one of their physios over to America, the guy that you can see pictured here at the top. They sent him over to America to keep an eye on what was happening with Thomas Partey. You know, sometimes international duty, some of these players are not looked after. You remember Aubameyang sleeping on the floor in an airport on his way back from international duty. You can't afford things like that to be happening. So Partey got game time. He's back. There should be no excuse now. And for me, Thomas Partey has to start on Saturday against Chelsea. We've all been saying for a long time, we want to see this Declan Rice, Thomas Partey double pivot. This is a big game. I know on paper, Chelsea look like a team we should be just rolling over. But this will be a difficult game at the weekend. And previous records can get thrown out of the window. We saw that. Manchester City had a great record against us. They weren't able to maintain that. Now, on paper, Chelsea are 11th in the table. We should be beating them. But it's a difficult game. Thomas Partey will be vital for that. Partey had a 100% injury-free record before he came to Arsenal. The man has aged 20 years since. It's crazy. It really is. Black said, Eddie might as well play for Ghana. Ain't good enough to play for England or Arsenal. Do you know what? I actually saw a debate on Twitter yesterday saying that Eddie has wasted his time playing for England. He should have played for Ghana. He could have gone to the World Cup. Could have played at AFCON. I just think he'll be one of them that won't get regular game time, and if it is, it will be as a super sub. So I think your profile genuinely becomes bigger if you play for England, but is he going to get game time? Big up Alvin, who said he's on holiday, solo travelling. Big him up. Anthony said France is 100% stronger. Look at the depth they have in defence compared to us. They're also stacked in attack, out wide and through the middle. England and then Portugal, second and third best. You know what? I got to be honest. I did watch some of the French game against Holland the other day. And they're still probably a better team than England. I was more sort of looking at, do they have more strength in depth? Maybe. We'll compare it in one of the streams. There is no debate. Foley won't even start for Ghana. But, yo, you know your Eddie Murphy films, man. Kay Hayes says, big up Big C. What Jordan is to basketball, Pele is to football, Muhammad Ali is to boxing, Big C is to content creating. Curtis is the GOAT. Jeez, I couldn't have wrote that better myself. Big up yourself. And big up a big part of the community, South London's finest. Happy birthday to you, bro. And hope you have a great day. And make sure you have a great day wherever you are and whatever you're doing. LSU's come in. Oh, my days. He said he was going to do it. He said, let's get this over. $50 for you not to wear the LA Dodgers / Todd Bowley hat when you stream. Of course, this hat is that the club is owned by Todd Bowley, who is obviously the Chelsea chairman. And LSU can't stand them. He's saying, get a Rams hat on Ukronke. And so I appreciate the kind donation, bro. And there are other hats available. So we try not to wear this one. Do you know why I like this one? Because I saw Ice Cube in a video wearing it when I was in LA. And I was like, that's original LA, Big up LSU, man. Appreciate the kind donation, bro. South London, love my bro. That guy D. Yeah. Big up that guy D as well. Shouting you out in the comments as well. 50 for no cent. It's like 50 cent, man. No messing around. Buy another LA hat with that money. Why not? Why not? Big up Beckley. Says shout out Big C. Eddie should play for the Kingdom of Zamunda. Zamunda, I'm a prince. Hakeem. Anyway, big up to everyone locked in. Over 1,000 of you already. We're in Jorginho mode. And I'm going to talk about Jorginho as well shortly. But, of course, we've got a few things to talk about. We're going to talk transfers. Let's start with the more exciting one. But will it happen? Will it not happen, And that is Leroy Sane. Leroy Sane, people, is the guy being linked with a move to Arsenal today. Now, I'm going to be honest. I don't like to get the community excited when we're linked with players. I like to read the full story and figure out whether there's actually any reality in the situation here. Now, Leroy Sane, according to reports, is interested in a move back to the Premier League this summer. As I said earlier on in the season when we were linked with him, he's had a child and his girlfriend has moved back to England. She moved from England to Germany with him. She's now moved back to England, stating that she wasn't happy living in Munich. He's travelling back and forth from Germany to England to see his child, see his girlfriend. Apparently, he wants to move back to England. However, having read the full story and got a little bit more context, Leroy Sane is on fire at the moment. He's on fire. He's playing some of his best football of his career. He's got 6 goals in the first 7 games. When you bear in mind he got 8 goals in 32 games last season, he's got 6 in his first 7. Along with Harry Kane and Musiala, you're talking about the best player at Bayern Munich at the moment. Now, I was looking at his situation and some of the stories. He's got 18 months left on his contract. Serge Gnabry was saying similar things. Oh, I'd love to go back to the Prem and Arsenal, blah, blah, blah. Next minute, new contract. Leroy Sane earns £220,000 a week and apparently is looking for a deal similar to that of Harry Kane, which is close to £400,000 a week. Unbelievable. Is he just using Premier League clubs to get a bigger and better and badder contract? Now, he's also being linked with Liverpool. Liverpool apparently are looking at him as a potential replacement if Mo Salah goes to Saudi in the summer. Bayern Munich would demand around £75 million for Leroy Sane if he doesn't sign a contract. Now, what I wanted to ask the community, number one, would you sign him? For me, absolute no-brainer. I am a massive fan of him. I think he's an absolutely brilliant player. 27 years of age. I think he's outstanding. I really do. But second of all, would he get in the Arsenal team? That is the other question. He tends to play on the right, occasionally plays on the left. Is he going to play on the right over Saka? Would you play him on the left ahead of Martinelli? That is the question. If Arsenal could get him, would you even do the deal for him? Because where do you put him in the team? He's not going to come to Arsenal. He's not going to come to Arsenal and sit on the bench. He's too good for that. So, I mean, a lot of you said, "Ooh, Jay Blue said he's better than Saka." You're causing some controversy here, He's a serious player. Rowan said all day, Sane is fire. Ryan said, yes, get him in. No doubt, but the wages are mad. Like I said, he's on 220. He's going to want at least 300,000 a week. Muffin Man said, I like Sane, but we need an 8, so I would say no. Joseph said Sane benches Saka. Jesus, I'm gonna have to do a poll here. I'm gonna have to do a poll, people. the fact that who is better, Sane or Saka? There we go. The fact that some people are saying that he's better, I'm gonna have to put it to the community. Is Leroy Sane better than Bukayo Saka? There's definitely an argument. There's definitely an argument there. Like it's not clear cut. Who is the better player? Saka or Sane? But also, I'm asking the question, could you buy him and could you get both of them into the team? That is the other thing. Trixie said he's miles better. Jeez. Listen, I think Leroy's serious. I'm not going to lie. I would like to find a way to get both of them in the team, to be honest. I don't think there's any right winger in the world that Mikel Arteta would put ahead of Bukayo Saka. When you look at who he is, what he's done for the club, his age, his contract, I wouldn't take Salah over Saka when you look at the age. He's Arsenal, isn't he, through and through. I think the argument, you could say Sané with Martinelli, but is Sané that good on the left? I think he's better on the right now. Jay Black said Saka all day. Leroy has good technique, but efficiency isn't above Saka. Emmanuel said doing so will be detrimental to Saka's progress. We really need balance in that role. Curtis says fans always hype players from other clubs, and I agree with that. Let's be real. I love Leroy Sane. I think he's an outstanding player. I'm looking at his last 3 seasons at Real Madrid. 6 goals in 2020-21, 7 goals in 21-22, and 8 goals in 22-23. Bukayo Saka got 15 goals last season. He's done his last 2 seasons put together in 1 season. Young Player of the Year. PFA Young Player of the Year in the Premier League. I love Leroy Sane, and I probably would take him at Arsenal and just figure it out once you get him through the door. Play him left wing, play him right wing, change it around. But I think we have to understand what we've got. Sometimes we're always looking at the shiny new toy. Bukayo's doing the business. He's carried this team at times. He's been Player of the Year back to back. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't get rid of him. Look at Bayern compared to and Bayern in their league are more dominant than Arsenal are in the Premier League. So in reality, I would expect Sané to be getting even bigger numbers. Yeah, you're right, South London. Remember Sané in the Premier League, he was unplayable. Did I say Real Madrid? Apologies, not Real Madrid. Listen, I think they're similar. To be honest. But I'm keeping Bukayo. I'd like to have both. I'm greedy. Imagine adding Sané to Saka. That's some really, dangerous football you got there. Sané is a danger. I'd tip him ahead of Saka slightly. Think he adds more dimensions in attack. Saka is predictable, said Frames of Football. I think he's a bit more explosive, Sané. His pace, he's a bit of skill. He's very direct. He really is aggressive when he runs up fullbacks. I think Saka's a little bit different. Now, I don't agree with this. Junior said Sané is overhyped, washed in a purple patch. I don't agree with that. Last season against Man City, he was Bayern Munich's best player. I'd love to get both. Our winger's defensive work is elite, says Greg. And I agree with that. Now, why the story was expanded as well, we've seen a similar story to this before. I don't know if it's just because it's international break and it's quiet. And, sometimes they go searching for stories, searching for something that I'll never find. If you don't know about them old school tunes, don't worry, I'll teach you people. On Arsenal and Sané, I think it could only help if there's any potential move for Leroy Sané. If he knows people that he has previously worked with, like Mikel Arteta, I'm sure it will come into his thinking if he wants to leave. The story says if he does not sign a new deal this season, he will be sold come the end of the season. But the story today saying potentially a January move. It does seem like Liverpool are looking at him as a potential Mo Salah replacement. Would you go? I mean, that's an interesting one. Sané, Martinelli, Saka. No out-and-out striker. All 3 of them just moving crazy. You could start Martinelli through the middle, I suppose. I mean, listen, it would be a nightmare to defend. I just wonder if who can hold the ball up and link up play. It would be exciting. I'm going to be honest, I don't think it happens. I don't think it's realistic. Not that he's not gettable if you put enough money down on the table. First of all, I wonder if he's just doing it purely to get a new contract. Second of all, Liverpool seem to be at the front of the queue. I mean, Don, I don't agree with that. Don says Neto's better than Sane. I can't have that. Leroy Sane is a serious baller, man. You're talking about a Premier League winner. You know, he's an explosive monster. Neto plays for Wolves. We haven't even seen him in Europe yet. I do think Sané is definitely better than Pedro Neto. That's a no-brainer in my opinion. Got Newcastle written all over it. Yes, Big C, another live stream. See, yeah, Neto to Sané is a mad one. Sané's causing all sorts of controversy in here. We got people saying Sané's better than Saka. And then we got some people saying he's not even as good as Neto. It's wild here that, you know, the comparison, we're at totally other ends of the spectrum here, to be honest. My opinion, he's similar to Saka. But I don't think it happens. So, but it's definitely causing a discussion, which is the whole point of the story. So there's a poll there because there were some people saying he's better. At the moment, 64% of you say Saka is better. Which is what I want to see. Let's stick by our boy. 15 Premier League goals last season. You're thinking old Sané fell off. No, I don't agree. I watched a few Bayern Munich games this season, especially with Kane there, and he looks like their best player, in my opinion. Looks like the most exciting player. We all probably watched that game, the 2 games against Man City last year. He was by far Bayern Munich's best player. The comparisons aren't comparing. I'm telling you, we're going wild. But I respect the opinions of the community people. I think one thing we have to realise, he's a serious baller, and I don't think he is washed. Dotty Big said, Eddie with 16 Premier League goals in 97 games and playing for England makes me question if we are living in a simulation. We've stepped into the PlayStation 5, people. It's real life computers. I don't get it. It shows you how the level of striker has dropped in English football, you know. Outside of Kane, Ivan Toney's banned. Ollie Watkins, to me, is meaty. Calvert-Lewin's constantly injured. In the end, you got to turn to Eddie. It's like process of elimination. Like, you ain't got nothing left, really, outside of Kane at the moment. Vardy's retired from international football. He's in the Championship. There ain't a lot of young English strikers coming through. I believe they tried to convince Evan Ferguson to play for England, but he's chosen to play for Republic of Ireland. AA said, if you guys bench Saka for Sané, you will lose Saka. Yeah, exactly. Listen, like I said, I don't believe that he would be benched for any right winger on the planet. I genuinely mean that. I don't think Arteta would give up Saka for anybody. Even Mo Salah. Mo Salah's, 31, 32? If Watkins is meatier than what is Eddie, I mean, listen, you've heard me enough. I think you know my opinion on Eddie. He's not that guy. He's not that guy. Should be judged by goals out of starts. Yeah, but you've got to earn starts, haven't you? That's the thing. That is the thing. Next, some of these guys will be saying Watkins is better than Sane. Yeah, it's wild. Maybe the community, they're not having Leroy Sane. I think he's a very good player. I don't think he ends up in an Arsenal shirt. I wouldn't mind. I'm greedy. I'd take him. He would give us another great option. But let's see what happens with that one. Let me get into a few of your comments. The next one might be even more controversial. Musiala, Kimmich and Davis are the only players I accept from Bayern. Would you take Kane? I think we'd take Harry Kane. Let's keep it 100, regardless of the age. You'd take Kane. Kimmich, you'd take Musiala. I would take Sané. I'd take Leroy Sane. Yeah, Cancelo's not there anymore, but we definitely would take a few of them. Sebedy said, Big C, do you think signing Tony in January will help secure Mikel's job? If he wants to wait for an Osimhen in the summer, he may not even be there. This is Mikel's biggest season. My take, and we spoke about it on Forever Arsenal, I've spoke about it a number of times on here. Arsenal can get Ivan Toney. I don't believe at this moment in time Arsenal can say with certainty that they can get Osimhen. I don't believe they can. He's got a huge offer on the table from Saudi. PSG, I think, will look for a striker because I think Mbappe ends up at Madrid. If Mbappe doesn't end up at Madrid, you will have Real Madrid looking for a striker. Lewandowski's, 34, 35? Barcelona may need a striker. United maybe. Well, maybe not United now. They got Højlund. Chelsea, and we know they'll just throw money at it. I don't. If you told me I can get you Osimhen ahead of Tony, I'd possibly sit back and go, pay the extra and get him. And you also probably can't get Osimhen until the summer. You can get Tony in January. I'm not sure that Arsenal would win the race for Osimhen, where I think you can get Ivan Toney. So that's where I'm at with it. I think Osimhen ends up at a club that pays 140, 50 million, and he ends up on 500-600 grand a week. I mean, Kyle said Arsenal are bigger than PSG. Yeah, I agree, but we don't pay what these teams pay. Kylian Mbappe's on €1 million a week. Sometimes it doesn't matter if you're a bigger club. It's what your club is prepared to pay. Don said, Curtis, why do rival fans talk about Pep, Sir Alex and Mourinho but always leave Wenger out? We know the thing that goes against Arsene Wenger is that Champions League. Those other three have multiple Champions Leagues. I always say, and I don't want to talk about Wenger too long because, we could end up talking about him for 45 minutes. Arsene Wenger is one of the greatest managers we've ever seen. He created a style of football that we've never seen in this country. It was unrivaled. It was unmatched. He created players like Henry. I say created, you turned a fast winger into the best striker we'd ever seen in the league. He's unbelievable. To me, Wenger didn't dominate enough. I always say this. You go from being invincible, one of the greatest things we've ever seen in the Premier League, to not winning the Premier League again. That shouldn't happen. You're supposed to dominate, He should have won 5-6 Premier League titles. He should have won the Champions League. So for me, I love Arsene Wenger, and I think he's in an argument with all of those guys that you've named. But the reality is, he will always lose the battle against those other three guys that you've mentioned. And that's the harsh reality of the situation. Was it all his fault? I mean, Rowan's saying here he suffered due to finances. I believe that he became too much of a clubman. He was willing to sign below par cheap players and protect the finances towards the end. Mourinho, treble at Inter Milan, Champions League with Porto, dominated at Chelsea, Pep's changed football, Champions League at Barca, Champions League at Man City, and Ferguson won 2 Champions Leagues as well with United. So that's going to always work against him. And the problem is, and I agree with what you're saying here, Margot, is that Wenger left under a cloud, unfortunately. Wenger left this club under a cloud. When Wenger left this club, a lot of the fan base were happy that he was leaving. And that's the sad situation with Arsene Wenger. Wenger should have left at a time when we were happy with him, when we could have wished him well. In the end, people were protesting for him to leave. That's not the way that you want a legend to go. As I always say, it's like Mike Tyson getting knocked out by Danny Williams on Channel 5. It's not the way an icon of the sport should be doing it. With them other guys, Ferguson won the Premier League and left. That's how the legends are supposed to leave. So it's a sad situation. But Wenger stayed at the club for too long. And it's sad, really. But listen, he's got his statue, and it is what it is. We move on from it. But good question. It's definitely a discussion point that we could go over in the future. Anyway, let's talk about... let me end that poll. That poll is still up. 65% of you saying... Bukayo Saka, stick by our boy, star boy settings. We don't need, people always say respect Danny Williams. Sane would be great. I'd love to add him to Saka. I don't want him to replace Saka, that is for sure. But 65% of you say Saka. Neto over Sane for me, Big C, says James Bond. I mean, he's younger, probably hungrier to play for Arsenal. I just don't think he's better. TH said he should have left after the FA Cup. And he started the whole top 4 is a trophy nonsense, which there was some truth to it, but, you need to win trophies. If there was debate in the argument in the comments about Leroy Sane, some of you think Sane is better than Saka. Some of you think Sane isn't as good as Saka. Some of you think Neto is better than Sane. So there's definitely a great discussion point there. I think we will all be on a similar mindset when it comes to this discussion that we're about to have now. Kalvin Phillips. I mean, listen, I would say to the community, stay calm, take a breather, woo-sa, woo-sa. But, I watched him last night against Italy. He doesn't look the same player anymore. I'm going to be honest. I'm going to be totally honest. When he was at Leeds, a lot of the community would have taken him. We were top 4 challenging at the time. He was very good at Leeds, I've got to be honest. Leeds captain, good player. Sometimes a player can go to a big club, struggle, go elsewhere, and it happens for them. Something's not right with him at Manchester City. He's injury prone, despite the fact he hardly ever plays. And he just doesn't look the same player. He almost looks like he's retired from football. I don't understand what's going off with him. First year at City, he probably didn't want to call it quits after 1 year because you never know what's going to happen. Rodri gets injured, whatever he might get in the Arsenal team, in the Man City team. But once Rodri got suspended and this guy was playing Rico Lewis centre mid, it's game over. Put in a transfer request. Now, apparently, Kalvin Phillips is seeking a potential move out of Manchester City in January in a bid to save his England place ahead of the Euros in Germany. England obviously qualified last night. And he's being linked with a move to Arsenal. I mean, are they just putting 2 and 2 together and coming up with 5? Because I'm going to be honest, I don't want him anywhere near the Emirates. I'm keeping it a buck. Yeah, he could be better than El Neni, but I don't want him. This is honestly the recycling bag outside of the Etihad. No disrespect to Phillips, he's not that bad a player. But Phillips needs to go to West Ham. He needs to go to Newcastle. He needs to go to Aston Villa. Rebuild his career at a good team that's going to get you maybe, just outside of a Champions League spot or challenging. And then you can maybe come back to the level. But we don't want him at Arsenal. We don't want to sign an injury-prone, out-of-form, high-wage Manchester City player that they are trying to get rid of. Not interested. Not interested. There's no way. Man said, in the words of Scissor, no way. Yo, we don't want Kalvin Phillips, man. Stay away from it. These links scare me, people. These links scare me. Because I remember thinking similar things when we got linked to Jorginho. When we got linked to Kai Havertz. When we got linked to Willian. I said, nah, that won't happen. And before I knew it, they were holding up an Arsenal shirt, people. So I see everyone in the community. No. But don't be surprised, because you know the way they would sell this deal to the fan base. You know the way the Twitter community would start capping for him. You know that what they'd say. He's a treble winner. That's what, we won the treble. He was brilliant at Leeds. They'd start putting Leeds videos up. The same things we're doing with Havertz, by the way, people. Do you know what I mean? So, listen, it's an absolute no from me. And it's a no from most of the community. I can see that. But what I'm saying is, don't be surprised, people. The trauma is real, Sakin. You say it. The trauma is real. I don't think it will happen. I'm hoping it's paper talk. But don't be surprised. I can see the interview already. He's a treble winner. He's an England international. He was brilliant at Leeds. He's still only 27. Arteta can revitalise him. Listen, I don't want to talk about it for too long. I don't want to speak it into existence. Kalvin Phillips being linked with Arsenal. It better not happen. Simon says, just give me Santiago. Jimenez, clinical assassin, plays the same pressing style at Feyenoord. Tony wanders around off the ball. Will he suit? We were linked with that Jimenez. I haven't seen much of him, but he has got a good goal record. Big up to you, Simon. James Bond said, Big C, please skip the Kalvin waffle. I mean, remember when Pep was calling him out, saying he was overweight and stuff, man? I mean, that's brutal. Big up, James. Kyle said he's no better than Jorginho. I would actually probably say he's not particularly at the moment. At Leeds, he probably was. At City, nothing from him. And Kyle said, is Arteta that good? He just wants these players to show how good of a manager he is. I told you, Arteta is the RSPCA. He signs strays and tries to rescue them. And Kai Havertz is definitely a stray dog. And Phillips would be a stray dog as well. Pep don't mess about. Pep said, brother, you putting on too much weight. You ain't playing in my team. He don't mess around, people. He ain't looking for no stray dog. He ain't on that. So it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. But I don't want Kalvin Phillips anywhere near the Emirates. I'm sorry. I'm sick of signing leftovers from other Premier League clubs. Why can't we go out there and sign informed players that are coming in on the up? They're playing well. They're in form. They're a good age. Kalvin Phillips being linked with Arsenal. Hopefully, just paper talk. No more RSPCA stray dogs, people. I'm telling you, we've had enough of them. Kalvin Phillips is fast at least. We have no pace in midfield. I don't even know if he is that fast. He did not look good yesterday. Man said Kai is moving like Scooby-Doo. I mean, listen, I actually think Scooby-Doo does more than Kai Havertz. At least, Scooby-Doo and Shaggy will solve a mystery. It's always the one you don't expect. They pull the mask off at the end. I would have done it too if it wasn't for you kids. You know how it goes, innit? Scooby-Doo, Scooby Snacks. I'd probably rather have Scooby-Doo in midfield than Kai Havertz, to be honest. I'm not even going to lie. That takes me back to the good old days, though. They were the classic cartoons back in the day, weren't they, man? Do these kids even watch cartoons anymore? We grew up on cartoons, man. You know what I mean? But anyway, let's not go off topic. Yeah, he is the mystery, I'm telling you. Right, let's move on anyway. He's a treble winner, only 27, England international. That's what the PR would say. That's what the PR would say if they signed him. Nathan said, yo, brother, checking in from law school, man, just on a class and chilled. Missed you. Hey, big up yourself, bro. Scooby can take over. Trust me, man, I'm telling you, the cartoons back in the day were serious. Shaggy Havertz, it's calling him. Anyway, let's move on. No Kalvin Phillips. We don't want that one. One that could be on his way out. Again, this report comes out of nowhere again. We did talk about this a few weeks ago. Oh, Flintstones and the Jetsons, man. Proper. We will end up doing stream about cartoon. But Arsenal midfielder Jorginho is reportedly a transfer target for Barcelona in the January transfer window. They're another one. They like a free transfer, a stray as well. I just want to say that this story is not Jorginho being bought in January and going to Barcelona in January. Obviously, he will only have 6 months left on his contract in January, which means he's able to sign for a club outside of England on a free transfer for the end of the season. So Barcelona are talking about giving him a pre-contract for him to join them in the summer on a free contract. I'm going to be honest. When we signed Jorginho, I was absolutely fuming. I'll be honest. People were PRing the deal, and I wasn't up for it. Has he been bad at Arsenal? Not too bad. The Tottenham mistake was outrageous, as you saw from my response if you watched the stream that day. But he's been okay. But if he left on the 1st of January, I don't think any Arsenal fan would be particularly bothered. And I hope that doesn't come across as disrespectful. I think he's good in the dressing room. A lot of people say he's one of the leaders of the group. He's good on the ball in a possession-based team. But he's nearly 32 years of age. Italy are not picking him. Chelsea couldn't wait to get rid of him. For me, it is, it's like having a bad cut on your arm and putting a plaster on it. It might slow it down, but you're probably going to need stitches on it. And that's what I feel like Arsenal did with this deal. Caicedo was fixing the problem. Declan Rice was fixing the problem. This was a plaster on some heavy bleeding. He turns 32 in December. it is what it is. We paid 12 million. He's on big wages. He's been an okay squad player, but for me, we should be upgrading. A lot of you saying go for Zubimendi. I've no problem with that. I've no problem with that at all. He's a player that I would take. Barella is one we consistently talk about. I would love to sign Barella. I mean, I know I've just compared Jorginho to a Band-Aid, which definitely doesn't make it sound like I'm being respectful, but ultimately, I look at it and say we could have won the league if we'd have signed bigger and better players in January. So, listen, it's another one of them players that when he leaves, you'll just be like, remember when we signed Jorginho? Yeah, it's just one of them. You know, it's one of them. Young Gunner said, I prefer Douglas Luiz as backup. Partey's off to AFCON. Rice can't be left as a lone six. He's back. Mash up. You are Sané's agent. Listen, I think Sané's a baller. I don't respect what he allegedly did to Sadio Mane. I definitely don't respect that. But in terms of his footballing talent, he's a baller. I would rather sign Douglas Luiz than Kalvin Phillips, that's for sure. Earthworm Jim owns Man U 90s cartoon star. Well, there you go, Jim Ratcliffe. Earthworm Jim Ratcliffe, the good old cartoons, eh? Kyle said, I want Jude. Let's show we're a big club like the Overmars days. That kick-started us in the Prem for a few years. Listen, there is no club in the world that is getting Jude Bellingham. He is at the top of his game at the moment, and he's playing for the biggest club, arguably, in world football in Real Madrid, and he's on fire. So, listen, we ain't getting no Jude Bellingham, let's be honest. Sané got clapped by Mane. Wallat! You have Wallat! He deserved it, to be fair. Polyfiller settings, as Fran used to say, you know, you cover it up, but eventually it's going to start crumbling again, and we're back to the same place. For me, listen, two things I want to see with Arsenal this summer, without coming across as disrespectful. Get rid of El Neni, get rid of Jorginho, you know, and get us two new centre midfielders. I want to look at our midfield next summer and say, right, Declan Rice, Thomas Partey, I think, could get sold in the summer because he's got a year left, and I'm not sure Arsenal will extend his contract because of the injury situation. Man said we'll get Jim Bellingham. What's his brother? Joe Bellingham? He's being linked with Real Madrid again. We'll probably end up with his brother. Just think, people, we could have signed Jude Bellingham, but Edu turned it down. He thought he was too expensive. So we missed out on a superstar there. It's another one to add to the category of players we missed with all the ones that Wenger was missing, people. Adventures of the Galaxy Rangers, big cartoon. Mick said we have no striker now. Boss Jade said Fofana is what we need. I'm a big fan. He's a beast. Real beast mode, that. Yeah, well done, Edu. Cheers, Edu, mate. Had a good chat with you in America, and, you know, we got a picture, but, yeah, thanks a lot. No, we're not signing Jude Bellingham. We don't rate him. Now he's probably one of the best centre mids in the world. Cheers, Edu, mate. Thanks a lot. But you signed me Sambi Lokonga. But if I speak, I'm suspended at least 6 months. Anyway, people, let's move on. Couple more stories to talk about before we round up. And a few stories coming out today regarding Starboy. Is he or isn't he going to be available for the weekend? Is he going to play against Chelsea? There's now rumours that it's a little bit 50-50. He's been recovering at Arsenal. Arsenal are keeping it all very quiet. International players start to return to training tomorrow. So I think Arsenal will start to release training videos, training pictures. We'll see if he's going to be available. What do we do if Saka doesn't make it at the weekend? How do we set the team up? What worries me is I think he would go Jesus on the right, Eddie and Nketiah through the middle again, because we just beat Manchester City with that three. Do you put Gabriel Jesus back through the middle? Maybe go with a Nelson or somebody else out wide. What I would say with Arsenal, and I agree with Jay, don't play him until he's 100% fit. We got a Champions League game on Tuesday, which is a very big game away in Seville. If we don't win that game, we're in a little bit of trouble. I was reading a stat today, and I'm not sure how true this is, and I actually should have checked this before I came on, but I was reading a stat that Jesus, Saka and Martinelli, which you would say is probably Arsenal's number one front three, I was reading that front three has not played together in the Premier League all season. And I couldn't believe it. I was actually like, nah. So the first game of the season, Forest, Saka and Nketiah, Martinelli. Second game of the season, Crystal Palace, Saka and Nketiah, Martinelli. Third game was Fulham. Obviously, Jesus was injured at the start of the season. Trossard, Martinelli, Saka. Then we played Man United. It was Nketiah, Martinelli, Saka. Then we went to Everton. He went Nketiah, Martinelli, Saka. Then we played Tottenham. And it was Jesus and Nketiah and Saka. And then Bournemouth was Nketiah, Saka, Jesus. Jesus playing out wide. And then again, Jesus was out wide against Man City. Our number one front three have not played together all season in the Premier League. That is unbelievable. 8 games into the Premier League, and we have not seen Saka, Martinelli, and Jesus starting a game together, which is unbelievable. Which does give me a little bit of kind of, how shall I say it? It gives me a bit of positivity about Arsenal, because I'm looking at it going, do you know what? We're level on points. Obviously, we're second on goals scored. But we're level on points, and our best front three have not been on the pitch together yet. We still haven't really seen Partey and Rice together as a double pivot. I still believe we can get better. And that's the thing that I like about Arsenal is I'm like, do you know what? We haven't had our best midfield. We haven't had our best front three. We've beat Man United. We've beat City. We should have beat Tottenham if we could have finished our chances. Things can get better from here. Now, don't get me wrong. You go to Stamford Bridge and get beat. We're having an Arsenal therapy Monday at 2 p.m. But there is reason for optimism if we can get the best players on the pitch. I mean, Rowan said we're in third gear, and I agree. Third, fourth, we can definitely... I would say third gear. I think we can go up 2 gears. I think you get Partey and Rice together, that's 4th gear. I think you get Martinelli, Saka and Jesus, that's 5th gear. You got an even quicker car, you get Timber back, there's even a 6th gear there, possibly. But Saka looking like it's 50-50 whether he plays at the weekend. So, listen, I agree with what a lot of you are saying. If he's not 100%, don't risk him. Big Champions League game on Tuesday. I don't believe you always have to be 100% fit to play, but I think in his case, because it was a hamstring injury, you can't risk him. Trossard, Martinelli, Jesus, that could be the one that we play on Saturday. You could put Trossard on the right. Will Arteta ever start Partey and Rice? I mean, he did it against Man City in the Carabao Cup. Not the Carabao Cup, in the Community Shield, sorry. But we need to see it in the Premier League, and I want to see it this week. I really do. Trossard, again, they're not revealing much at the moment. I think the Trossard one could be trickier with it being a hamstring. Before we round up, let's have a quick look at the Premier League table. From tomorrow, we will start counting down to the game. We'll start previewing the game. I mean, I'm having to go on page 2 to find Chelsea, which tells you they haven't had the best of starts to the Premier League, but they have looked better in the last 2 games. My thing with this Chelsea game, honestly, is approach with caution. Don't get carried away. On paper, 11th place. Should roll them. Of course we should. But they've won their last 2 games. And as bad as they've been, they've got the 2nd best defence in the Premier League. 3rd, actually, because Arsenal and Man City on 6. In fact, yeah, they've only conceded 7. So they've got the joint 2nd best defence in the Premier League. They're not too bad. We've got to be careful. It's still Chelsea at the Bridge. You got Mudryk and Caicedo nearly joined Arsenal. They're going to have a point to prove. You got Raheem Sterling left out of the England squad. Going to have a point to prove. You got Poch, former Tottenham manager. He's going to want to get one over on us. Obviously, we got Havertz and Jorginho. We have to manage this game carefully. If we play well, I think we beat Chelsea. I think we're better than Chelsea. I think we've got a better attack than they've got. But the question mark is, number 1, who's going to be fit and available? Number 2, who is Mikel Arteta going to pick on the pitch? Because the worry is he ends up squeezing an Nketiah, or he gets a Jorginho, he gets a Havertz, he gets somebody in that team, and we don't see the team that we really want to see. It should be the goalkeeper, whether that's Raya or Ramsdale, probably Raya. Ben White, Gabriel, Saliba, Zinchenko. There's your back four. Your midfield of Rice, Partey and Odegaard. Your front three of Saka, Martinelli and Jesus. That beats Chelsea in my opinion. But I doubt very much we will see that team on the pitch. And that's the problem. Manchester City play at home to Brighton, which is an interesting game because Brighton are very up and down at the moment. You know, they get battered sometimes and then they batter teams. It's a tricky game. I wish City were away from home. But, you know, Pep's just lost a game and, Pep doesn't take defeats very well. So I'm hoping he starts overthinking and doing stupid things as well. Nick said, I loved you on Forever Arsenal. Perfect addition to a great show. Appreciate that. It is a brilliant show. Big up to the guys for having me on. I'll be on DR Sports Preview tomorrow at 12:30. James Bond was asking about the member stream. We did it yesterday at 4 o'clock. I did say it the day before, but we will do another one in the next couple of weeks for anybody that missed out. We'll get another one in with all these games coming on. Listen, back-to-back Premier League defeats for Pep Guardiola. Wolves away, Arsenal away, 2 defeats. I don't think Pep's ever lost 3 games in the Premier League at Manchester City. They may be a little bit nervous. Brighton, because they kind of attack so much, they either get battered or they win kind of thing. So it'll be interesting. But Pep's not going to be happy. Like Ryan says, Pep will be angry. One or two things happen. He might overthink and drop points, or they'll just batter Brighton 4-0. Haaland will score a hat-trick. So, yeah, we're away at the Bridge. So it's imperative we pick up 3 points. After that, our next Premier League game is Sheffield United. And that weekend, by the way, when we play Sheffield United, Manchester City go to Old Trafford. So if City even drew with Brighton at home, and they do not have they got beat, at Man United last season. So, it could be an interesting weekend. Amar said, Big C, your thoughts on the Beck's documentary. His stardom was something else, even without the internet. How good was he? That David Beckham documentary, in my opinion, is absolutely fantastic. It's absolutely brilliant. I think sometimes it's actually overlooked, first of all, how good a footballer he was. The delivery is on another planet, the way he could deliver a ball. I look at it from a footballing point of view. And a sort of... Nowadays, I don't think there's many players that could put up with what was going through. He was the most hated man in probably English football. Not by me, by the way. I never had this. Oh, he got a red card. So what? England fail at most of these tournaments anyway. But what he went through, I don't think most players could put up with nowadays. Especially with mental health and stuff like that, and how it's been brought to the forefront now, which is obviously a good thing. We want players and people to deal with it. But this guy was being followed. He was getting death threats. He was booed at every away ground. It was crazy. It was crazy. But what a player. And anyone who hasn't watched that documentary, if you're into your football documentaries, man, go and watch it. What a mentality. I know he played for Man United, and listen, they was our rivals at the time. But that guy's mentality, unbelievable. Look at the career that he had. Man United, AC Milan, PSG, Real Madrid, England captain, owns a football club. The man is the chairman of a club that has Messi. What a player, what a person, what a mentality. Incredible. I have to give the guy credit, I really do. The Preds, man, listen, if you had Preds on 15, 20 years ago and you took a free kick, you had to do that over-exaggerated whip. And then, the ankle bends a little bit. It was Beckham. It was iconic. Iconic footballer, man. There's no doubt about it. What a player. What a documentary. It's definitely worth watching. Beckham was the first name I knew in football as a 7-year-old. Future said elite mentality. Lost now, really. They want robots now. They want robots, unfortunately. They want everyone to think the same, act the same. That's why we don't see a new Neymar, a new Ronaldinho. You don't see that. They want robots. They want Haaland. I am a robot. I score goals. They don't want... If you had Ronaldinho now in football, managers will probably drop him. They go, he loses the ball too much. He's trying to nutmeg people. He's doing flip-flaps. Oh, his stats aren't good enough. Stat merchants nowadays, aren't we, in football? What's he? Oh, look at his stats. They don't want that. They don't want flair in football, They want robots. They want athletes. You got to be able to run. You got to be powerful. You got to be technically good. And that's what they want. Individual brilliance. It's not the same. And I know I sound old when I say this. And it's, I used to hear it from my parents. They say, oh, football ain't like it was in my day. I say, whatever, man. That's because you're old saying that. But now I'm saying it. And when I grew up, man, who were the best strikers? You could name 10 of them. There were 10 elite strikers. Henry, Ronaldo, Crespo, Shevchenko. Any position in the world, you could name 7, 8 of them, at least. Nowadays, it's not the same because individual brilliance ain't there. You look at Haaland. I respect Haaland massively because scoring goals is the hardest thing to do on the football pitch. So even if he scores 50 tap-ins, you still have to respect it. But the entertainment level is not the same anymore. It's not quite the same. It's so structured and strict now. Yeah, I mean, listen, don't worry. I heard AGT on the DR show saying Salah over Ronaldinho. And that is where football is at. That's where football is at. Ronaldinho is, in my opinion, the most entertaining, enjoyable footballer that I've ever seen. I have not enjoyed watching a footballer as much as Ronaldinho in my life. And you're talking about World Cup winner, Champions League winner, La Liga winner, Ballon d'Or winner. But people are saying, I'll take Salah. Why would you take Salah over Ronaldinho? Because they'll say Salah scores 30 goals, 25 goals, and goals win games. And that's the way the modern game is. So I understand it, but I don't agree with it. I could never put Salah above Ronaldinho. I will still stay connected to what I saw growing up. Zinedine Zidane wasn't scoring 15 goals a season, but he's still one of the best players you've ever seen play the game. Ronaldinho is one of the GOATs of football. Some people would say the GOAT. So we are losing that individual brilliance in the game, something that I believe we need to hang on to. But you look at football nowadays, the coaches are obsessed with coaching you. To me, when you've got a great player and a great talent, you just have to nurture it. You help it along its way. I saw an interview once with Frank Rijkaard. I know I'm waffling here, people, but I saw an interview with Frank Rijkaard. And they was asking him, how do you coach Ronaldinho? And he said, I can't coach him. And the guy was like, why don't you coach him? He said, he's so good at football. What can I teach him? All I can do is help him with the odd little thing and keep him fit. And I get him on the pitch and say, go and enjoy yourself. Get on the ball. And you don't see that as much nowadays. Everything now is structured. Get out wide, score goals, make them runs, work hard. They don't want you to try and nutmeg. Think about a simple thing now. How often do you see players get nutmegged nowadays? Just a simple thing, a nutmeg. How many players do step overs? You don't see it. You don't hardly see it anymore. Everyone just pace, power, goals, stats, running, how much distance. Every player trains with that vest on because they want to know, did you run 10 kilometres today? Zidane probably wasn't running 10 kilometres, but guess what? When he got the ball, he was a magician. So it is crazy. And listen, you got to move with the times. Things change, things evolve. And football is still great now, don't get me wrong. I do love the game and it's exciting. But there's just not as much of that, that flair, that flavour, that sauce anymore. I mean, people saying Pep killed football. I think he changed football, because his thing was he got rid of Ronaldinho. He got rid of Yaya Toure. He wanted that structure, that Iniesta, that Xavi, that David Villa, And then everyone sort of followed suit. So yeah, it's crazy. But listen, we still love the game. We still enjoy it. I know I'm waffling on a little bit at the end. I'm reminiscing a little bit on the olden times. But I hope we get that individual quality back, especially when you look at like Brazil and that. Even they don't have as much of it anymore, really. Neymar, probably Vinicius Jr. That's about it. But anyway, people, thank you very much for tuning in. Really appreciate your support as always. 2,000 of you in the chat. I know the news stories are not massive at the moment. Trixie said, need you on the terrace. Huge fraudulence on there. Big up yourself, Trixie. Big up Terry on the terrace as well. But thank you very much for tuning in. I will be on DR tomorrow at 12:30. I'll then be back on here later on in the afternoon. And then Friday, it'll be over to press conference reaction and things like that. And then we'll build up to the game on Saturday. Big game. Samuel said, Curtis, I enjoyed your Eddie Nketiah substitute appearance on the Forever Arsenal podcast. I can assure you, Jordan was the Eddie Nketiah. You know, we subbed him off. Big up, Jordan. Elliot, member stream was yesterday, 4 p.m. We missed you, bro. Next one, make sure you're in there. Big up to everyone locked in. Thank you for your input, as always. Legendary community. And I will see you all tomorrow, people. Bless.